for saving money, ending bad habits, or starting a routine of physical movement. April Lund is a health and wellness coach, and her story of getting started is truly amazing. She's a world-class athlete now, but it wasn't always that way. She's here to tell us why movement is so important and how we can get started. Good morning, April.
Good morning.
Movements. Are we talking, sitting in a chair and moving around? Are we talking walking? What kind of movement are we talking about?
So initially when I sent this to talk about today, I was talking about movement as in physical activity,
Right.
Getting up, walking around, moving to the mailbox, flexibility, those kind of things. But as I was praying this morning, I was thinking about movement in general and movement in our entire life.
Right.
And how a lot of us are so okay with being good that we're never going to be great at anything.
So you're talking whether that be a good father, a good husband, a good employee, a good athlete, whatever it is. We're satisfied, we become stagnant at being good.
Yeah, and movement is important because we do become stagnant. We stay in relationships that we shouldn't be in because it's good or it's okay, but it really, is it great for us?
Right. And it's
Right?
easier to stay sometimes. It's easier.
It is, and that's also with our routine, right? There's very few successful people that get up in the morning and have no clue what they're going to do for the day.
True. That's true.
Right? We don't just roll out of bed and go, oh, I'm just going
What should I do today?
I mean, those days occasionally when they happen are very beautiful, but we worked hard for those days. So really when we talk about movement, there's lots of ways that we have movement in our life. And whether that is not accepting mediocrity, whether that is movement or growth that we have in our personal development, or whether that's physical activity, because all of those things are important for us.
Sure.
Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, all of those things help us move towards the person that we're meant to be.
April, you're here every other Monday and you talk about these things and you offer these, but you're someone that lives this, but it wasn't always that way. Give me a little background on what got you moving to become the athlete and the person that you are today.
Yeah, I think at some point in our life, we're all sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And we have to make a choice. Do we want to be here tomorrow or don't we? And life is short. And I think oftentimes we think there's always going to be tomorrow, or I hear people say, oh, I'll do it next year.
Yeah.
And I used to be that kind of person. And I was 100 pounds heavier, 44.8% body fat, a raging alcoholic. And I don't think I really understood what quality of life truly was, whether that was quality of friends, quality of health, because I spent a lot of time running in the wrong way.
Sure.
And
You were moving, but moving in the wrong direction, right?
moving in the wrong direction. So, I just made the change. I started small with just walking, then to running. And, I think I was always so drunk in the beginning, I didn't realize that I wasn't a great athlete
Right.
anymore. Or I remember the first time I looked down and I didn't see my toes because my belly was so big. And that was a sobriety moment in my life.
Exactly. Nothing will sober you up quicker than that, that's for sure.
Right. But yeah, so, I just made a choice one day to live a different lifestyle. And I started small. I kept it simple. I still live by a lot of those basic principles today. All of my success is rooted in 5 basic things I do every day. And it all starts with, I put on my armor in the morning with prayers. I follow whatever my nutrition plan is for the day. I follow what my workout plan is for the day. I high five a stranger.
There you go.
Yeah. And
Good
then
idea.
I pray before I go to sleep. And literally, if I just do those small things, I am where I am today.
The roadmap is a good, solid map to follow. Now, you talk about nobody rolls out of bed and that's successful, rolls out of bed and says, what should I do today? You really do, from the meal plan to your workout plans, everything is planned out. How far in advance do you do that? Do you do that the night before, or is that planned out even before that?
I mean, some things you have to go on the fly, right? Champions make adjustments, we
Sure,
don't make excuses,
sure.
because very few battles, well, it's true, right?
I know it. You've got a response for everything. I think it's great.
But very few battles are won under ideal circumstances. So in the fast-paced world we live in, we have to be able to adapt and make movements every day in our life. But that's where priorities come in,
Sure.
right? Our life should be about priorities, and making yourself a #1 priority is really, really important. So whether that's with food, I hear a lot of excuses about food. Food should be simple, it should be easy, and it should be good. If God made it, you should be able to
Sure.
eat it, right? Same as with sleep. Sleep is the hardest for me, actually, and it's the easiest recovery tool and the easiest cure for depression. And
So
we don't
when you
use
say
it.
sleep is difficult for you, you mean finding time to sleep or actually
Yeah,
falling asleep?
yeah, finding, well, no, I can fall asleep
Yeah?
anywhere, man. I
Okay.
can sleep in this chair right now. Like,
Quiet. April wants to get a nap in, okay?
but, you know, just making the time to sleep because we're so busy.
But isn't that as important as you talk sometimes about making time to do the movement, the exercising,
Yeah.
things like that. Isn't it just as important to make time to say that's it for the day?
It is, but how often do we do that? Right?
Yeah.
You know, that's part of making yourself a priority. It's also part of when we're talking about movement, you know, just besides doing like some walking or some exercising, we've got to make movement towards our weaknesses so we can become stronger. So that is something I've really focused on hydration, I've really focused on sleep, and I've focused on saying no. Because those are all things that are going to move me into the right direction.
Yeah, you have to be able to say no, otherwise you get bombarded with things that you're committed to that takes time away from you.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought here. Oh, as far as when you got started, did you have aches and pains maybe that you said, oh, I can't do this and do this, or did you overcome that? Because you hear that a lot. Somebody says, oh, my knees hurt so I can't go walking, or this or that or that. There's always an excuse as to why not.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of I get to move.
Okay.
Why can't I do something? If I only worked out on days I felt great, I would still
There
be
would have been
100.
there would have been one day last April.
I'd still be 100 pounds
Yeah,
heavier, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so you know, we gotta just really focus on the things we get to do and not the things we have to do. And we also gotta focus on, you know, like our why. Because I don't wanna be sick anymore.
Right.
I don't want to be tired anymore. I don't want to feel like crap. And if I don't move in all the ways, then I go back to that. And I don't ever want to feel like that again. And that's, you know, and I also want to show the world that the glory of God has no bounds. But I also have to take action, and movement is action. Whether that's, you know, reading to improve myself, learning, getting knowledge, meditating, getting sleep, eating quality food. That's all movement that is my responsibility.
Sure, so it's not all physical movement that you're discussing, but how much of it is right up here in the mind to stay motivated, to find a reason to as opposed to a reason not to?
So when people come to me as a health and wellness coach, they're always like, oh, you know, I'm like, what's your biggest obstacle? And they're like, motivation. And I'm like, well, you know what? We're not always all motivated. That's why we learn discipline, right? Discipline is so important because on days when we don't feel like it or days when we can make an excuse, because there's 30 valid excuses every day.
Without question.
Right? But that discipline is what moves us from point A to point B. So when we're not motivated, that's when discipline has to kick in. And when you say you're going to do something, you should follow through. And if your parents didn't teach you that, then you need to teach yourself that, and then your friends should hold you accountable to that too. If you say you're going to do something, you do it.
Okay, and if you're going to start out as far as doing some physical movement, don't start out by saying I'm going to run 5 miles every day.
People get overwhelmed. So they're like, well, if I don't have an hour today, I can't do
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
I will literally Zoom with someone who says they're too busy for 3 minutes and kick their butt to where they can barely turn the phone off. Right? We
Yes,
can
you
do
can
anything.
get it in that period of time.
Yeah, and I just started working with an older woman who just walked to her mailbox for the first time in over a year.
Oh, wow.
What an accomplishment. It's a half-mile walk. It was, she cried at the end. It was
believe it.
so fantastic just to start, go get your mail, walk around the block. You know, put your own clothes away. Walk up and down the stairs. Don't take the elevator. I love when you see people at the gym looking for the front parking spot.
Yeah, kind of defeating the purpose.
But
there.
you know what I mean? Like park in the back of the lot.
Sure.
Start small.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I saw the emotion in your face when you were talking about some of the people you work with, that you made it to the mailbox for the first time. You work with a lot of people, and if somebody would like to work with you, April, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, aprillundfitness.com or GYS Track Club, and we have walkers, runners, all ages, all shapes, sizes, and all abilities.
Yeah, you're not talking just about marathon runners, you're talking about people that are starting
Just
out.
normal people.
Exactly. April, thank you so much. Appreciate your inspiration on that.
Thanks.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
We're going to take a break. Stay tuned. We've got much more coming up on North Dakota Today after you watch this.